Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. I've got a treat for you today. This bubbly ray of sunshine next to me, Alissa Bickar. She is a woman on a mission with a passion in her heart. And this gal gets around. She's a hoo-hoo and an influencer. And we've got her today as our guest. So welcome, Alissa. Nice to have you here.
It is so great to be here. Thank you so much. I really enjoy your company and your perspective. So game on, let's have some fun.
Right on. Love it. Okay, I'm going to put my little podcast background on. All right. So let's talk about who Alissa Bickar is as far as your background pre-real estate. What were you doing in life before you stumbled into the real estate and got bit by the real estate bug?
So the bug that bit me for real estate is called my husband, Mike. And I was doing business consulting, human potential training as a business coach, advisor, strategist. And he's like, when are we going to buy some real estate? Because my family's in retail food business and real estate. And I just thought, well, I'm not sure that I want to buy in New York. So we, 4 years ago, actually 2020, I decided to pivot my consulting practice and just focus really on the financial piece and the business of real estate to kind of open up the world. So now we live somewhere else. We are now investing in the local geography where we live. And the business consulting has never been better because I found community among other real estate nerds that are also entrepreneurs.
I love it. So you guys left New York. Where are you now?
We are 2 hours northeast of Pittsburgh. We decided after doing a lot of research and, throwing the darts at the map for, Maryland, Tennessee, Texas, Minnesota, that Pennsylvania is where we wanted to be, and Pittsburgh was going to be our investment strategy for buy and hold rentals.
Have you guys crossed paths with Coast to Coast Turnkey Properties, Brian Fine and Andrea Lane?
Yes.
Okay.
Andrea was my first intro. The woman who helped us convert our IRA to a self-directed custodian introduced me personally to Andrea, and those two women have been probably the most influential people in my real estate endeavors out of anybody to date.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I adore Andrea. I just think she's fabulous. And Brian is brilliant. So good. That's good. So you were consulting. Talk a little bit about that. What kind of consulting were you doing?
So I have a big heart for entrepreneurs. Growing up in a family business that, my dad told me, you should be an accountant or a lawyer. And I'm like, my template here is not that. So thanks. But I went through all the education motions. And when I left, I joined financial services thinking, okay, so I will do something in finance because I'm good at it. But at the end of the day, being part of a financial services business, franchising businesses, food, finance, fitness, in all sorts of industries and all sorts of structures, I realized that the same pain point existed for every level of business. And depending on what role you took, where you could contribute and have best practices. So that kind of shaped my future. I started out as a budget consultant when I was in the branches being customer service and lending for a wee bank called Commerce Bank. And yes, I did the cartwheels in the branch. They were all about the wow customer experience, which, can you tell, that's like right where I needed to be at the time.
You are, when they look at the wow experience in the dictionary, it says Alissa Bickar.
That's right. Yeah, so long story short, I started budget consulting, and then I realized there was a broader audience for people who really needed the structural, repeatable support. But I had seen it from the angle of being behind the counter in my folks' bagel store and being in white collar business in banking and finance. And I was all licensed up to be a financial planner, but like did not love the insurance and the stock market stuff. So I journeyed on and became a human potential trainer, got certified under Jack Canfield to really help people live through transformation, because business was what helped me transform. So I decided to pay that forward in my business. And I had a friend of mine who I was just casually helping her because she opened she bought a business, a printing business. And she's like, can I pay you for this? And I thought, I have been missing the mark. So that really started me out in consulting and helping people just look at, is it marketing? Is it your systems? Is it your books? What are all these pieces of your business and where do you need to tighten up? And then finding the network, finding the community for people to help. I kind of got that.
Yeah, no wonder we resonate with each other, because we do similar things. We come at it a little differently, different backgrounds, but we're ending up in the same place. It's ultimately always about building a good, strong foundation with the right processes and systems.
Yeah, and the right community. So that, like, to me, that is so, broad scope. Real estate investing was no different. That's exactly where I went first. While you mentioned coast to coast, I needed to find the right community, the right players, and figure out where exactly I could contribute, but also be held. Like, community and the working with the right people is paramount, because you can, I'm sure the people who love you are the people who, like, your strength and your pointedness really speaks to. And again, I feel like in the world of business in general, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's how you collaborate. So I am so honored to be here today because I feel that kindred spirit with you.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to learn more from you.
And likewise. So this is just the beginning of a budding new beautiful friendship. So I love it. Love it. Love it. So you come from an entrepreneurial background. You come from you've got a head for numbers. You were good at it, but you didn't like it. You really have a passion for helping people. Your family's got restaurants and real estate, but it was really your husband, Mike, that is like, come on. So talk a little bit about that, how you transitioned out of doing work you were good at into more and more of the real estate. And I'm guessing you're still doing your consulting too, right?
Yes. So he said to me, I've wanted to be a landlord since I'm 10 years old. And, he comes from a family that's, just really, they're kind, amazing people. And there's not a whole lot of entrepreneurship in his bloodline. So he's like, he couldn't see how to do it, but he was a geek for all the research. He knew where to go and what to look for. But I'm the people person. So I was like, okay, we're going to take all of that you informed me behind the scenes, and I'm going to go find out where to play with it. So I went out and got my real estate license, which I still don't use to this day, but it was a place to start. I met some really great relationships that pointed me to a real estate investor association, which is where I really started out. I started learning from other investors and learning from this business model that was, it was a brokerage and a training facility and a mentorship program and a not-for-profit. And I got to see firsthand how people invested in private notes. And that was really our first personal investment, was to be able to do a private note with our self-directed IRA. And we just caught the bug. We're like, okay, how do we do this more? How do we help other people do this? How do we find properties and projects that are not Googleable? Like, right, this whole real estate space is very creative and it's a team sport, and you have to know who the players are. So that's where I've spent the majority of the last 4 years, is ingratiating myself and vetting different projects and different initiatives when it comes to real estate, whether it's, syndications, private notes, buying the turnkey real estate, which I did purchase. We purchased our first turnkey rental from Coast to Coast in May this year. So we bought our house, we bought our rental property, and the rest is, as they say,
getting started in a way with the real estate investing.
Yep.
Yeah. So talk more about that journey of real estate investing, where you're at, where you're going, where you want to be with that.
So For me and for my husband, our strategy is to buy turnkey and to put tenants in. We like to partner with private money lenders, people who want to be a part of a real estate deal, but don't necessarily want to manage it or understand. They just want to know, I'm going to get mailbox money. I'm going to partner with you. So that's our personal strategy. Coming to that was learning first the realm of private notes and seeing how people structured those and learning from other people. But then, and because my core competency is business and finance, I really understood that first. But then, getting a bug for partnering up on deals and taking a piece of equity when someone comes in with some cash that they want to invest, but partnering up and being one of those partners in a deal that's, buying distressed portfolios and doing value add. So I got to learn all these terms. And so now I have a few business partners that are up to things that I've never personally experienced, that I'm learning lockstep, how they're going about buying, how they vet opportunities. And I've also been investor relations for a few different entities that are, raising capital. So that's kind of been my experience as I've entered the real estate market space from the idea of private capital. And that was how I personally got started. And then opening that up to, acquiring and buying those assets. And Brian Fine has been, Mr. Magician behind the curtain, helping me run numbers and seeing what fits when I have money and when I have opportunity for deals for me and my husband personally.
Awesome. So what is the ultimate goal for you?
Our rental portfolio, we would like to establish in our local geography so that we can get our kids involved. They've already got the bug, but to have all of our household income taken care of by passive rental mailbox money. So eventually, to have the coaching business be just something I literally do for fun because I love it.
Yeah, you don't need to do it.
Right.
By when do you want to have that goal achieved?
The goal is to have it by March of 25. It's an aggressive goal. I'm okay with shifting.
Well, like Miles Davis says, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss it, you'll land among the stars.
Yeah, exactly. So Brian and Andrea have been great fire pokers under my butt to say, when are you doing the next one? What do you need? Here's what we've got. So knowing where the deal flow comes from is very important. To my husband and I, knowing who we're getting our assets from is also very important. But again, March 25, but ultimately, we want to be empty nesters by 2030. So I think by then, my youngest will be in college or college age anyway, and perhaps a real estate investor in his own right, my son and my daughter. But that's who we're doing it for. We want to give them the template of, being a master of your own destiny, demonstrating that it's possible by knowing the right people and by learning what comes next, not necessarily having to figure it all out ahead of time, but getting in motion. So yeah.
Awesome. Now go back. I find it's really interesting that the first real estate deal you did was buying a private note. So talk about why you started there. Because that's usually unusual most of the time. And it's probably because of your finance background, but a lot of newer investors don't even get into that side of the business until they've been around for a while, or they never do. They're just going to those people to get the funding. So was that just the bridge for you because of your finance background? That was the first step that made sense for moving into the real estate space?
Form and function, it was what I understood the best because I already had a background in lending. I already had a background in assets and in diversification. And to be honest, we weren't starting with much. We didn't have a pot of money to start buying things, especially because we lived in New York. When you live in New York, to buy a home, your primary residence, you're looking at a minimum price tag of like $450,000, which nowadays is probably more. And so that kind of kept us as a barrier to entry. But, leveraging my husband's IRA, we were like, oh, we do have money, but we're going to partner with someone who already knows how to do this, who is going to push the return with this money. So we just were on the lending side of a deal and got to see it from the back of the house. And a lot of my business background was administrative. So that is kind of how I reverse engineered a lot of things, was seeing things from the back end first and figuring out how to open the curtain then later.
Awesome. I love it. And so is the goal eventually to leave a family legacy, but also teach the kids to fish?
That's it. Really, to show them what it takes to live that entrepreneurial life, but how to demonstrate that for them and show them. Right now, they're both private lenders with me. You know, they earn money from their grandparents or from their birthday money for having good grades or whatnot. Both my kids have private notes with me, and they do not get money for chores. We expect that in this house, but they do get money for lending. So I think total between the two
give an example with one of your kids of a transaction. I love that.
Yeah, so my daughter started first. She had about last year was her first year after we homeschooled for 7 years. They went to public school for the first time in our new location, started building friendships and community. But she was rewarded for the fact that she was straight A's all year. And she's like, well, I have this money. What can I do to make money? And so we tried, folding laundry, but like, we expect her to fold her own laundry, but maybe if she folds Papa's laundry. But at the end of the day, I realized I'm like, oh, that money's just sitting in your piggy bank in your room. Why don't you lend it to me and we'll discuss terms? And she said, well, what does that mean? So my kids have really good terms. They're getting 4% per month on their money. So she lent me $250. And for that, I was giving her 4% interest monthly disbursement and resetting the clock every month. And so my son saw this and said, she's getting $10 a month just for lending you money. What if I can double that principal? What will you give me? I'm like, same terms. You need, 2 weeks minimum to let me know if you need your principal back. But if you keep it with me, I will give you 4% per month. So he's under the couch cushions looking for change going into his birthday money. And he got all the way to 450,000 a couple of years from now, maybe $450. And he said, well, how much can this get me? And I said, that'll get you $18 a month. And he's like, great, I'll do it. So here we are. Now my daughter's got a principal amount of $750. My son's in for $450, and they get pocket money every month. And I let them know if they amass more, we can write a new note and reset the clock. So they already understand. And my daughter is walking around going, I have a job. I'm an investor. I'm a lender. It's great.
I love that. I think, if we were to transform our educational system, that what's missing in our educational system, and I think probably most, is teaching life skills, teaching not the theory of economics, but actually finances, like how to do a budget, how to balance a checkbook, how to invest and save, and about interest and all that. I think that's phenomenal that you're teaching your kids that. Now, what do you do with the money?
It's in a savings account. I make sure that it's in a secure position. So if they give me 2 weeks notice that they want their principal back, I can
But
honor
it's in
that
a
request.
savings account where you're collecting less interest on it than you're paying them.
Yes, that's true. It was almost my substitute for chores. It really was a bribe. And it also helps out the household. So if, we have an opportunity, I'll say, hey guys, that money that I have for you that I'm holding in safekeeping that would otherwise be under your mattress or in your piggy bank, we're going to use it and we're going to deploy it to get this new piece of equipment, or we're going to go out and we're going to take you out to dinner and then I'll replace those funds from my working, so they get to see the inner workings of the economics of the household from a buy-in. They're not just like, oh, money comes from somewhere and then we get it. That's are watching our budget.
Because kids will grow up and get limiting beliefs about money because they're kept in the dark, or they just know that whenever they need something and they're told, well, we don't have enough money, or they grow up rich and they don't have to do anything for it or whatever. I just think that's phenomenal that you're doing that. And now they have a stake in the household, and they also have a say in the household. How old are they?
Right now they are 14 and 12. And my daughter frequently says to me, I'm moving out. By the time I'm 18, I'm going to have a house. I'm going to have a rental house too. So she's watching and seeing. She went, her birthday was recently. Her first order of business was getting her working papers, because here she could start working at 14.
So good for you. Wow.
Thanks.
That's the best part of this interview, how you're raising those little human beings and teaching them skills that are going to enable them to be successful and build wealth. I mean, they could be retiring by the time they're 30, millionaires, just with the way you're approaching it and teaching them. I love that.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, I love that. So what else do you want people to know about you?
The Consultress was born out of a need to help people transform and sometimes be willing to have a kick in the butt. So I had branded myself that way to be a little bit mysterious, because we know that transformation never happens because we're comfortable. So I had to learn through the grand pursuit of business that that's what helped me grow. And that's what I'm out here helping people to do. And again, if you're a geek for real estate and being a master of your own destiny, even better. But taking responsibility for your income, taking responsibility for your value additions in the world, there's nothing like it. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you waiting for?
Right. So in this journey of real estate investing and just professionally as a lender, what's been your biggest challenge?
Mindset, normalizing bigger money. And again, coming from retail food or the restaurant industry, that's some of the hardest working people on the planet, but it's also some of the brokest mindset I've ever experienced. And I grew up in that business. So overcoming that, abnegation of wealth, overcoming that for myself was really difficult. So, being in financial services and handling, millions of dollars was so foreign to me when I started that I had to reject it. And it took me to come full circle to seeing the bricks and mortar and doing real estate investing and private notes, where I could really have a personal relationship with those dollar amounts. Did it actually normalize for me? And so the challenge of normalizing, saying, $500,000 to get into a deal, or $1 million, or a portfolio that's, 10 million plus, like these numbers that used to get thrown around that intimidated me. It took me a really long time for that not to be intimidating.
Is that what you mean by normalize?
Yeah. So that, when you are doing things that are uncomfortable or brand new, it feels like you're climbing a mountain. But after you've exercised that muscle a little bit, after you've done it once or twice or seen it done, it seems like it's not so insurmountable. Like they always say in real estate, the hardest deal to get done is your first one, because you have to overcome all this inertia, all these limiting
beliefs, and all this uncertainty of the unknown.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And how did you go about transforming your mindset?
It was surrounding myself with people who'd already done it, leveraging the power of what I use this tool called the mastermind, which I'm sure many people have heard about, but it was the number one tactic that I use over the last 10, 15 years, that since I learned it, to be able to rub shoulders with people who had gotten results that I wanted to get, and creating environments where I was still providing value to them and not feeling small because I hadn't yet done that. Using that mastermind format really helped me to be able to provide value to those folks, but also get a, one-on-one intimate relationship with, how did you do that? Or what are you working on, and how can I support you? But also, like, I got to hear firsthand the very human struggles and things that they were going, and it normalized, I didn't have stars in my eyes for people with millions and millions of dollars anymore. It was just like, they're just at a different level. And it, rather so than looking like an imbalance, a power dynamic, it now just was like a compassion for a station in life. So having access to those people and being able to provide value to them in a way that also allowed me to learn from them, helped tremendously, and having that regular communication really.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because, well, mindset is an internal thing, but the company we keep, our community, is so important. And you've said community several times in this, and it is important. And I just watched a mini docu-series called Living to 100, The Secret of the Blue Zones. And one of the things about longevity in every single example, whether it was in Greece or Italy or Linda Loma, one little pocket in Orange County, California, weird, where there are these centurions that consistently, that area, there's just people that live over 100 and they're still, they don't have memory issues, they don't have eye issues, is community and support is a huge piece. And it's unfortunate because loneliness is a pandemic in our country. I suffer from it sometimes, and I'm in the middle of creating community, but online that's nice, but in person, I mean, I moved where I live right a few months before the pandemic hit, so I was starting to plug in, and I really felt that. So I love what you're saying, because we are the company we keep. I've heard some of the, the gurus out there say, if you want to know your net worth, look at the people's net worth around you, and your net worth will be similar. And that we are similar to the company we keep. So I love that. And, I'm just curious, if you were to jump up on a rooftop and you had a captive audience and they were hanging on your every word, like it was the gospel to them, and they really were going to take something of value away with them and really take action on it, what would your advice to them be?
Live life loud. Stop shrinking. If you're doing it, stop immediately. The only way to live is to expand. Always look for new opportunities to learn. Shrinking thinking puts you in distress, and it puts you in despair. My dad lived a legacy of live full out. I asked him literally on his deathbed, if you put a banner on your life, what would you say? And he was like, what do you mean? I always lived full out. And it was true. I learned that passion and living with the heart from him, and the way that I did it was through business. So again, live loud, be seen, try things, be willing to put yourself out there, because that is your growth edge. That's where it all happens. That's where the magic lives. So if you're feeling at all bored, there's an opportunity in every way.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone, live on the edge of your uncomfortable zone. That's where the growth is. Yeah, I love it. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Just that it has been an absolute freaking pleasure to be here with you. This dialogue has been captivating and fun and inspirational to me. So thank you for doing what you do. And as always, keep on being awesome. I loved to be here because I've seen you living out loud. And I think that, more people ought to do it. So this woman's on fire. Make sure you're watching her.
Her too. So take action. No more excuses. Go get results. And you and I, this is just the beginning of our journey together, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with me today.
It's been my pleasure. See you very soon.
Everybody. My group here is the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor. This podcast is every Wednesday at noon Eastern, and then we post it in hundreds of other real estate investment groups. If you resonate with this, with me, with my speakers, and you are someone who is thriving, you already have made it, you're doing really well and thriving at real estate investing, please reach out to me in a DM, an email, whatever, and we'll get you on the podcast, or join my community, the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor, so you can meet wonderful, well, it's reversed right now, wonderful people like Alissa Bickar. Thank you so much, Alissa. Have a great rest of your week. This is just the beginning. We'll be connecting. I'd love to take you up on your invitation to be on your podcast and just stay connected.
Yes, we will make it happen.
All right, everybody. Happy hump day. Just jump over that hump and keep going. Bye, everybody.
So long.